This is a review of Café de la Hambre in Ginza, Tokyo. It is April 20th, 2025, my first day in Tokyo, Easter Sunday, and the 135th birthday of a certain iconic historical figure, so you'll have to forgive me if I slip a few unrelated observations and ramblings into the review. Alternatively, you can just skip to the coffee part at 4 minutes and 50 seconds. My hotel, the Life Ginza Tokyo, is endearingly cartoonish. It has a comfortable shared co-working area, a laundry room, and a tiny gym with 3 cardio machines and what appears to be a bongo-themed boxing device. My favorite feature is the complimentary bathrobe. Also, the toilets have bidets. I'm writing the sentence while using a bidet for the very first time, and I must say, I think I might have hemorrhoids. Is it supposed to hurt? I don't think it's supposed to hurt. Idiopathic asshole pain notwithstanding, I leave the hotel to wander around Ginza in the general direction of the aforementioned coffee shop. Ginza translates roughly to silver given, as this part of Tokyo was the home of Japan's silver minting authority during the Edo period. The name is apropos, as the main stretch is nothing but high-ticket luxury shops. I make around $2 million I shouldn't say that. My producer says I shouldn't say that. I make about $30,000 a year as far as the IRS is concerned, so for tax purposes this stuff is way too rich for my blood. I walk into the Loro Piana skyscraper to find the baseball cap Kendall Roy wears in succession, but unfortunately they only have the ones with the embroidered logo on the front. That's a good thing, because spending $1,000 on a baseball cap is fucking stupid. I'm going to do it anyway. I like the hat. It's around 1 p.m. and the streets are fairly crowded, but I don't mind in the way I typically would. Prior to today, hating big cities was one of my core personality traits. I hate crowds, I hate excessive noise, I hate dirty public areas, and I especially hate interacting with anyone in a lower tax bracket than me. However, I feel completely at peace here, which tends to make one reflect. Despite there being thousands of people on the street, it's eerily quiet. On a major thoroughfare like this in New York or Los Angeles, I'd be experiencing total sensory warfare. A Civic somewhere with a subwoofer blasting the latest Bad Bunny track, unknown gases hissing from various street orifices, addicts pissing themselves in the street, and all manner of other Hellcat driver behavior. But here, there is only the soft chatter of polite conversations. Everyone appears to be sentient, or at least alert and aware of their surroundings, which has never been my experience in American cities. There's a neat trick we could use to achieve this level of civility in every city in the world, but a certain fellow tried it a few years back, and it was a whole thing. Which brings us to our birthday boy. I've only been here for a day, but I think I see why Big H liked the Japanese so much. This may feel a little shoehorned in, but bear with me. I promise it's topical. Oh nice, we got to the coffee shop before I started saying slurs. In America, we have a meme about coffee. The meme is that whether you make coffee at home or spend $7 at Starbucks, you still get coffee made by a fat. At Café del Hambre, you can get $15 coffee made by a guy who dedicated over a century of his life to being the biggest coffee fat in the world. Time for a history lesson. Café del Hambre was founded by a Japanese World War II vet by the name of Ichiro Sekiguchi. I told you it was topical. He opened the first iteration of his cafe in 1948 at the end of an alley in Ginza. At that time, most coffee available to consumers was either GI coffee, the instant shit we invented to keep soldiers stimming in the trenches, or canned ground coffee from beans called ponkan. At the time, the most expensive cup of coffee in Ginza, which even then was an affluent, high-income part of Tokyo, was 90 yen. Ichiro decided he would charge 100. Inflation data is pretty choppy in the years immediately following World War II for obvious reasons, but as best as I can tell, in inflation-adjusted terms, that's the equivalent of a $6 cup of coffee, which is actually kind of normal now. But back then, it was fucking nuts. However, even back then, Ichiro's coffee was considered worth it, and he had so many customers he ended up having to abandon his other business as a film equipment manufacturer. Maybe that was a more lucrative gig long run? Who knows? Unfortunately, the original location caught fire from a neighboring restaurant. Fortunately, Ichiro stuck with the whole coffee thing anyway, and the Café del Hambre I visited today has been in this same spot for over 50 years now. Despite having very poor signage and being located in a random alley in an expensive part of Tokyo, it has no problem staying in business. None of this is the reason I decided to come here today. It's just filler historical information because that's what you're supposed to do for review content these days. Think of me as a thinner, more racist Guy Fieri. The reason I'm here today is that Café del Hambre is the perfect coffee shop. You could attribute this to the aesthetics, the speakeasy-like atmosphere. It's quiet, tiny, dimly lit, and tastefully decorated in post-war style, with red velvet, classy posters and trinkets, and a clean wooden bar. You could also attribute it to the cafe's unique practice of aging their beans, a process that, to the best of my knowledge, is practiced nowhere but Café del Hambre and a handful of Tokyo copycats, and was discovered accidentally by Ichiro himself when he received a delayed shipment of coffee beans, finding that aging on roasted beans produced entirely different and more complex flavors than a bean roasted closer to harvest. You could also attribute it to the care and love with which the staff operate the shop. It's obvious that they deeply respect the traditions, tools, and techniques established by Ichiro, and carry them out to the best of their ability. All three play a part, but personally I think it's plain old monomania. Before Ichiro passed away in 2018 at the ripe old age of 104, he rigorously curated his own entirely unique presentation of coffee, from the unique aging process all the way down to literally pouring the coffee. In addition to discovering/inventing and subsequently perfecting aged coffee beans, he patented a wide-bottomed, thin-topped kettle for brewing coffee entirely unique to the cafe, which he believed provided the maximum control over temperature. And it actually makes a noticeable difference. Every cup is served at a hot but perfectly drinkable temp the second it's poured, with no downtime between brewing and drinking. He also patented the grinder used to produce Café del Hambre's signature, almost flaky grind that he believed fully released the oils responsible for the complex and layered characteristics of the final product. He went as far as designing the cups customers drink from, which, in addition to being beautiful, ornate pieces of glassware, are also quite functional and do indeed make an optimal sipping apparatus. Ichiro Sekiguchi loved coffee, but I'm not going to talk about him anymore because there are dozens of more detailed sources online. He literally wrote a book about his approach to coffee, I linked it in the description, and because I'm ready to drink some of this goddamn bean juice. The staff seats me at the very end of the bar, away from other customers, most likely because I look like a complete asshole waving my obnoxiously large camera around going beep beep click click. I'm handed a plain white menu with black text and a simple set of instructions. Pick your beans, a star means it's been aged for 10 or more years, choose whether you want a single or a double, and select the desired strength of the brew. They measure this by the ratio of grams to coffee to grams of water. If it's your first time, I recommend 70 grams, which is medium. You can also add cream and sugar if you're a stupid fucking retard who deserves to die. I choose a Sumatran dark roast, and the barista allows me to sniff a jar full of the beans first. I've smelled a lot of roasted coffee, and I don't find the scent particularly novel.
Yemen mocha.
I really want to experience how the aging process impacts the flavor, so I asked to take a whiff of another jar, the Yemeni mocha.
Yes.
Yes? No milk, no sugar? Okay.
The scent strikes me immediately as almost entirely unrelated to coffee, like mulling spices mixed with the dust in the bottom of a box of Cheerios. So I nod in the affirmative, and he smiles and starts brewing. I'll let you watch. When I go to take my first sip, I immediately understand why this place is so special. My prior experience with mochas is that they tend to be mid-bodied, fruity, and chocolate-forward. This Yemeni mocha, aged 8 years, is entirely unlike any other cup of coffee I've had before. In case you're unfamiliar with coffee vernacular or any sort of tasting vernacular, the body of a given liquid refers to how viscous or dense it feels in your mouth. More full-bodied is sort of like saying it's on the thicker, sludgier side, and weak-bodied is more like a thin, watery mouthfeel. This aged Yemeni mocha resides on neither end of the spectrum, and I can describe it only as hollow-bodied. Rather than the typical acute awareness of the coffee residue that tends to linger on the tongue and the roof of the mouth, I'm more aware of the space in between, like the mocha is a cardboard tube through which coffee-flavored air travels. It is airy, not liquid, stale, but pleasantly so. The initial Cheerio dust impression was accurate, but now it's tinted with cardamom, and as the liquid travels down my throat and evaporates off my tongue, it leaves an aromatic puff of air dancing on my soft palate. I need more. I ask the barista, an older gentleman likely in his 60s, what his favorite bean is in my terrible Japanese. He warns me that it's dark and bitter. I say, no problem. He pulls down 2 jars, a different Sumatran from the first I smelled, and a Colombian geisha.
これはコロンビアゲイシャ。これはアスレティ。
I smell both and immediately select the geisha. He smiles, probably because it's the most expensive coffee on the menu, but I don't care about getting upsold today. I feel like a tweaker. I will be the guy who pays $30 for 70 grams of coffee if it's anything like that last hit. I watch him go through the mesmerizing process of brewing the coffee again, and am rewarded with the most profoundly interesting beverage I've had the pleasure of splattering over my taste buds since the first time No? I can't say that on YouTube? No, yeah, that makes sense. I'm 0-2 against my producer today. This doesn't even taste like coffee anymore. Gone is the hollowness of the Yemeni mocha. This is full-bodied, demanding, overwhelming. It tastes like pimento, no, like beef stock and charred tomato paste. It's got that MSG thing where the flavor transforms the longer you hold it in your mouth. I just watched this guy brew the coffee. I know this is coffee. I saw the beans go into the grinder, then into the strainer, then into my cup, and yet, in my heart of hearts, I am drinking the dregs of a perfect pot of bourguignon. 10 out of 10. I'll be back every day I'm anywhere near Ginza. If you love coffee, make the pilgrimage to Café del Hambre at some point in your life. That's all I have to say.
Except for this. Like the video and subscribe to the channel. And this.
Shitey wanker balls. Thanks for watching.